averaged over 1.5 million per center, and the average payment to the remaining 1,043 centers was a little over 135,000. Was this a part of your document that you were also ordered to delete, Mr. Swanson?
Eating up over 35% of the CCAP budget. And at that time, I would speak regularly.
Was that one of the paragraphs that a senior DHS official ordered you to delete?
Yes, it was, Representative and Chair.
Why would she want these sections deleted? Why were you ordered to delete these from your statements?
Chair and Representative, what I was told was these are going to make us look bad. I was told that it's not an issue and don't worry about it. These centers were eating up the budget.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the wildest government hearings I've seen in a long time. Minnesota's child care assistance fraud scandal, and why lawmakers are absolutely stunned after a whistleblower took the stand. Imagine this. You're a government investigator, and you find out a tiny percent of child care centers are gobbling up a massive slice of the budget, millions of taxpayer dollars. You start raising red flags, you dig deeper, then your boss tells you to delete the evidence. Yeah, that's what happened. This hearing wasn't just another snooze fest. Lawmakers pressed a whistleblower who dropped bombshell after bombshell. He testified that senior officials at Minnesota's Department of Human Services, DHS, were more worried about looking bad than protecting your money. Here's where it gets wild. The whistleblower said he was directly ordered to remove a section from his report that flagged fraud concerns involving dozens of the state's highest-paid child care centers. A lawmaker asked, right there in the hearing, "Did a DHS official tell you to cut that paragraph?" The answer? Yes, it was. The room went silent. And there's more. Another section, showing the top 50 centers averaging over $1.5 million each while the rest got scraps, was also ordered out. Again, yes, it was. This wasn't just a paperwork error. Lawmakers started asking, why were these findings suppressed? And the answer was jaw-dropping. These are going to make us look bad. So while investigators and county employees were seeing red flags and weird billing patterns, higher-ups just wanted to keep it quiet. The whistleblower said, warnings were ignored, not once, not twice, but over and over. And here's the kicker. While a handful of centers were pulling in millions, qualifying families were stuck on waiting lists, unable to get help. The witness said it point blank. This was not a victimless crime, because every dollar lost to fraud meant a real family couldn't get childcare. The thieves were taking all the money.
Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Swanson, my question is for you. Thank you for coming back. You had testified last week, and in your testimony, you talked about the OLA report of 2019. Specifically, if you have that in front of you, you're familiar with it, in Appendix B, B2, or on page B2 of that document, this was your statement. These investigators and agents, however, also firmly believe that the extraordinary level of weaknesses present in the internal controls of this program will allow the fraud to continue unabated or, unfortunately, possibly increase until changes are made in this area. And Mr. Swanson, my question to you is, was that one of the paragraphs that a senior DHS official ordered you to delete?
Yes,
Mr.
it
Swanson. Mr. Swanson.
Yes, it was, Representative and Chair.
Okay. Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to page B3 of that document, to the second paragraph, which reads, in calendar year of 2017, there were fraud concerns involving 42 of the highest paid centers. Investigators have significant fraud concerns regarding 72 of the top 100 highest paid centers. And investigators have significant fraud concerns regarding 100 of the top 150 highest paid centers. Mr. Swanson, the question is, was this a paragraph that a senior level DHS official ordered you to delete as well?
Mr. Swanson.
Chair and Representative, yes, it was, although there's a typo in that paragraph, which was probably my error, but it was meant to read that in 2017, we had fraud concerns involving 42 of the 50 highest paid centers.
Thank you for clarifying. Representative Altendorf.
Thank you. And thank you. And further down on that same page, B3, we're still looking at the CCAP payments to the 50 highest paid centers in 2017 averaged over 1.5 million per center. And the average payment to the remaining 1,043 centers was a little over 135,000. Was this a part of your document that you were also ordered to delete, Mr. Swanson?
Mr. Swanson.
Chair and Representative, yes, it was.
Representative Altendorf.
Mr. Swanson, was the person that ordered you to delete these sections the DHS Inspector General?
Mr. Swanson.
Representative, as I said last week, I'm happy to answer questions when they involve the identity of DHS officials. My preference would be to answer this committee's questions in a non-public setting.
Thank you. Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Swanson, why do you think, even though you are leaving her unnamed at this point, why would she want these sections deleted? Why were you ordered to delete these from your statements?
Mr. Swanson.
Chair and Representative, what I was told was these are going to make us look bad. Yeah, I think that's what I was told, and I believe that to be the case.
Representative Altendorf.
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Swanson, have you previously, before this report, expressed these same concerns to the DHS senior management about the disparity? And really, we're talking about 50 of the highest centers out of over 1,000 centers, which is quite alarming when we're looking at the numbers that they were receiving, and this should have been a red flag. Did you previously report it?
Mr. Swanson.
Chair and Representative, repeatedly throughout, I would say the 2017 and 2018 timeframe, I continually brought this up to officials above my level, but I was told that it's not an issue and don't worry about it.
Anything else, Representative Altendorf?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Swanson. I guess my last question just, would be in summary, this is alarming. You saw the red flags and you were ignored. You were told to stop and to not go down that road, not to expose that. You were told to delete it. You were ordered that by senior people in DHS, even though you've not named them. Did you see this disparity as a serious problem?
Mr. Swanson.
Chair and Representative, I thought it was a very serious problem because if you do the math, what this amounted to is 50 out of over 1,000 child care centers. Those centers were 4.5% roughly of our total child care centers in Minnesota at that time. That 4.5% of centers was eating up over 35% of the CCAP budget. And at that time, I would speak regularly with county CCAP employees, county CCAP supervisors, and they saw what they believed to be flagrant and large-scale fraud taking place at child care centers in their areas. And I'm talking, for the most part, primarily the Twin Cities area, Rochester and St. Cloud. But I was continually receiving calls from these CCAP program staff at the county level, and they were frustrated because of the huge amount of billing that some of their centers were doing. And while they had a concern about fraud, certainly their other concern was that these centers were eating up the budget, the CCAP budget for their county, and most of these counties had wait lists of families waiting to, receive approval for CCAP. Some of these counties had lengthy waiting lists, and these county human service officials, they see the flagrant large-scale fraud by certain centers in their areas, and that they have to turn around and explain to, the families on the wait list that, yes, you qualify for CCAP. We don't have the funding, to put you on the program at this point. So it's not like it was a victimless crime. There were families in Minnesota that would qualify for the program, and they couldn't get on the program because, the thieves were taking all the money.
Thank you. Just to clarify before we go on, one of the multiple whistleblowers to me have said that when the criteria for these investigations was red flags, and one of the red flags was just the large amount of billing from particular centers, that they received feedback from supervisors at DHS that just looking at the high dollar billing centers was not appropriate, and that once your unit was shut down, that no longer happened. Do you have any thoughts on that? Was that true? Were you told not to just investigate the high dollar unit providers? Could you comment on that?
Chair, when I was at DHS, the high dollar billing, was not the only indicator that we used to open an investigation. There were multiple indicators, but frankly, when we saw a center that opened and after a year was billing us for over $1 million, that's not a normal trajectory that we'd see from the vast majority of our child care centers. And while I was while we had discussions, or I had discussions with senior DHS officials in, say, the latter part of 2017 and 2018, and they would express to me that, that shouldn't be an indicator. We continued to have a disagreement, but then after we had the issue with what we were going to tell the OLA, then from that point on, they made it absolutely clear that that we were going to be spending as much time looking at child care centers receiving funding on the low end as we did on providers on the high end. And frankly, my concern at that point was, we were looking at the figure of 50%. If we're going to spend 50% of our time looking at centers receiving minimal CCAP funding, that means we're probably looking at centers, receiving less than $100,000 a year in CCAP funding. That also meant that we were going to spend 50% less investigative resources on centers that were billing us for over $1 million. And I didn't think that was a good use of taxpayer money.
Then, things got even heavier. Only 4.5% of centers were taking more than a third of the program's entire budget. Picture that. A tiny group eating up what should help thousands. Most of this was happening in areas like the Twin Cities, Rochester, and St. Cloud. But instead of doubling down on those high-risk operators, DHS leadership apparently told investigators to spread their focus thin, even on low-funded providers. The whistleblower argued this made no sense. Why chase pennies when millions might be missing? By the end, lawmakers were rattled. Who ordered those deletions? Why did oversight break down? Should there be a full, independent investigation? The whistleblower didn't name names in public, but these claims are explosive. If any of it checks out, the fallout could rock Minnesota politics. So what do you think? Is this a massive government failure, or just a few bad actors? Should lawmakers launch a deeper probe? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who cares about government accountability. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.